Hey, Dawn here with a helpful hint. One of my favorite ways to listen to podcasts is by speeding them up. It gives me the opportunity to listen to more of them and to re-listen to my favorite ones. So if you find that this podcast goes a little bit slow for your taste, by all means, turn up the speed. I listen in Overcast personally because I like the control it gives me over the speed of the podcast. All right, on to the goodies. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wake-Up Show, a weekly podcast where growth-minded, creative people come to learn best practices from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well-being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, improvised acting teacher, therapist, and coach, Dawn McMillan. Let's get to it. To put the world in right order, we must first put the nation in order. To put the nation in order, we must first put the family in order. To put the family in order, we must first cultivate our personal life. We must first set our hearts right. Confucius. How's your heart, beautiful human? How is your heart? How are you? How are you really? I want to acknowledge that being a human on the planet right now is particularly challenging, which is not to say that any humans on the planet have been la-di-da, unchallenged and floating on a cloud without anything to figure out. And I also don't want to suggest that it's so horrible out there. But I think we all could be forgiven for thinking things are a little bit rough. As I'm speaking to you, it is June 2022 in the United States of America. And it's a challenging time. So how are you? How is your heart? My own heart has been a little heavy. My own heart has been outshouted by the news, outshouted by the negative beliefs that have been installed in my operating system. My own heart has been grieving. My own heart has been grieving. I keep finding myself outraged, and I don't think I'm the only person. And outrage is really not a situation that I want to dwell in. So what if we get our hearts right? You and me together. And when we get our hearts right, we can be so much more to the people in our immediate circle, to the people we touch on the internet and throughout the world. I am not suggesting that it is sufficient to sit on your yoga mat and meditate and get your heart straight. It is necessary, but not sufficient. And some of us are challenging ourselves to go out there and do something without first getting our hearts right. And some of us are excusing ourselves from taking action in our lives and in the world because, well, we're a good person. I would like to deprive us all of those alibis. It's not enough to do something. It's not enough to think something. We need to do all of the above. We need to think aligned and lovely actions, thoughts. We need to get our hearts right, and we need to take action in the world. Mind, body, spirit, head, heart, gut, whichever trinity you want to look at, we need all of the above. So let's get our hearts right. I've been digging back into some of the Heart Math Institute information that I have. Thank you, Janice, for sharing that with me. And I'm looking at a book called Overcoming Emotional Chaos. It's really good. It's really good because what it does is it first outlines some of the ways we get stuck in emotional chaos. And then it takes us through some tools that we can apply and shows how they apply to each kind of emotional chaos. So how getting your heart in coherence can help you with your anxiety, with your overwhelm, with your depression. So I'm really enjoying it. And part of what I'm enjoying, and forgive me because I'm going to be having different distances to the microphone a little bit as I turn my head to open my book. So we've got this real wonderful framework for how it is that we get into emotional chaos. And they talk about over care, over identity, and over attachment. Oh, hear that again. It's so good. Over care, over identity, and over attachment. And what I love about this framework is that when you dig into it, when I dig into it, it aligns beautifully with both psychological and spiritual principles. So, over care. So, we think that caring is an important and valuable way to be in the world. Cool. So, what's over care? If you look at care in the dictionary, you get to worry. So, we are in over care when we are engaged in a whole set of aversive and distressing emotions based on our air quotes caring. So they say that one way to test whether you're over caring is, are the people and things that I care about causing me more stress or less stress? Overcare occurs when the mind turns our genuinely caring intentions into a mental and emotional drain, right? We can all think about the mother whose children are in their 40s and is tossing and turning every night about whether or not they're flossing their teeth, right? We become overcared when we're so stressed out that we can no longer function. And when we get into overcare, we get into over control. How many times have people tried to control you, saying, "Oh, I was just so worried about you. I was just so worried." That is overcare. When you try to control someone else's actions in order to make yourself feel better, you might be in the overcare realm. Here's another quote. Overcare in one area usually results in a lack of care in another area. Oh, let that sink in. When you overcare, right, you're completely stressing out about your adult children, about your fill in the blank, your cause. You are overcaring about deforestation. So much so that you don't have any energy to properly take care of your cat, for example, because it's not true caring. It begins to drain the energy out of your whole mind body system. So let's talk a little bit more about overcaring, because there's an epidemic of overcaring in some cultures. Certainly the field in which I work is rife with overcare. It's to be expected. And they say, in fact, in some companies, if you're not stressed from overcaring, you're not considered a good worker. So I get a lot of information about burnout. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of us in the helping professions, whether it's medical or customer service or psychology, get burned out is this culture of overcaring. You show how much you care by how stressed out and unhappy you are if things aren't going the way you think they should. That's overcare. That's overcare. So I'm going to read the way that they phrase the really central question. Is what I care about stress producing or stress reducing? If it's stress producing, then you know there's overcare involved and it's draining your energy. If it's stress reducing, that's where your care is in balance, regenerative, and adding to your energy. So a lot of what overcaring can lead to is conflict and struggle. So if I'm overcaring about, let's use deforestation, for example. If I'm overcaring about deforestation and I'm on Twitter and someone does not say the exact right thing about deforestation, then maybe I attack them viciously. and try to get everyone to cancel them. So they care. This other person also cares about deforestation, but not in the exact same way that I do. And so, in my stress, in my anxiety, in my shame, in my blame, in my rage, I cannot receive that person as being caring because they're not caring the way that I do. Is this tracking? Is this making sense? So when we start talking about over caring, over identity, and over attachment, they're all sort of, it's the three-headed monster. It's the three faces of one monster. It's being deeply and emotionally invested in a specific outcome. Deeply and specifically invested in a specific outcome, so that your emotions require you to experience distress when the thing doesn't go the way that you think it should. Overcare is often about other people or our jobs. Over identity is our deep attachment to, I am the kind of person who. I've shared with you in the past that one of my struggles was being over identified with being smart, right? And so if I'm over identifying with smart, then if something triggers any sort of insecurity in me about looking or sounding smart, then I'm going to come out, I'm going to feel terrible, I'm going to get shamey or blamey or rageful. Over attachment is a lot of what they talk about in the Eastern traditions. The Eastern traditions and one of my personal philosophies of Stoicism get accused of wanting people to not have feelings. What we're talking about is non-attachment. And immediately when you start talking about don't get too attached, people are like, well, do you want me to not care? That's not right. We want you to not overcare. Over attachment can be, if I lose my job, I am no longer worthwhile as a person. If someone unsubscribes from my YouTube channel, I need to be depressed for a week because I'm worthless. Can also mean if I don't look a certain way that society tells me I need to, or that I have in my brain, however it got there, then I need to be in suffering and struggle. So overcare, over identity, and over attachment are some of the ways that we get into emotional chaos. And what are you noticing about all of those? All of those are related to what Eastern traditions often call the ego. It's a very head-based, very judgment-based way of interacting with yourself in the world. It's all about judgment coming from your head. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. Things that are good and right make me good and right. Things that are bad and wrong make me bad and wrong. Things that are good and right make other people worthwhile, and things that are bad and wrong make other people judgeable. So you're constantly comparing yourself, other people, and the world to your judgments. And we've talked a lot about the difference between judgment and discernment. And what you get is over care, over identity, and over attachment. And the sad thing is that it comes from this really beautiful place, especially over care. I'm worried about these people because I care about what happens to them. Of course, the fallacy is that your worry not only does not influence any part of the life for them or yourself for the better, it can make you really stinking annoying. Yeah, your overcare means that you smother people. Your overcare means that you avoid people because you don't trust yourself not to overcare, so it's easier to disengage. And your over-identity makes you harass people for validation. Or it can, I should say. So what do we do about all of this? Before I give you that answer, I want to give you a couple of disguises that overcare, over-identity, and over-attachment show up as. One of them is sentiment. Sentimentality could look something like, oh, I used to have so much potential, or gosh, my child moved out, and oh, I really wish things were different. And there's the fast track to self-pity. It can look like expectations. It can look like expectations. This is how things should be. And if things aren't the way they should be, if you don't behave the way I think you should, if you don't give me what I think I'm owed, then I need to suffer about it. Or I need to be rageful about it. I need to go into fear or panic, anger, rage, sadness, grief, helplessness, hopelessness, blame, shame. That's a hint that you're engaging in this territory. Ask yourself, if my expectation isn't met, what will happen? And expectations are not boundaries. Boundaries are something that you choose for yourself, for your well-being. It is not a demand that you make on other people. You decide what is good and right and correct for your own well-being. I don't like those words, good, right, and correct. What is necessary for your own well-being. And you decide what you'll do if the conditions are not met. It's not about demanding or expectation or shoulding on other people. And the other trap is sympathy. Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Sympathy is not compassion. Sympathy is not compassion. Sympathy is, oh my God, you feel terrible. I'm going to feel terrible too. And you spiral down. And it's like someone comes to you and they say, oh no, I have a hole in my bucket. And you're like, I'm going to put a hole in my bucket too. Not helpful. Not helpful. Compassion would lead you to say, whoa, let me understand what it's like for you to have a hole in your bucket. Wow, that's responding emotionally and compassionately to that person. And then maybe helping them repair their bucket and giving them some water. So these are the traps. These are the keys to emotional chaos. And I want to revisit the coherence technique because it is so helpful. So you want to do that together right now? I'm going to grab my book and I'm going to do it a slightly different way than we did last time, so that I can guide you through it using the language that they specifically share in this book. So one of the tools is the cut through technique. So we're going to do that. All right. Step 1, be aware of how you feel about the issue at hand. So let's take something minor. If you're driving, which is when I listen to podcasts, maybe use something simple that doesn't require a whole lot of attention. And be aware of how you feel about the issue at hand. Just notice what's going on in your body. Notice what kind of thoughts you're having. Okay. And now we're going to focus on the heart and solar plexus. Breathe love and appreciation through this area and anchor your attention there. What we did last time was breathing in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. The solar plexus is located about 4 inches below the heart, just below the sternum. So breathing in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. At your own pace. Eyes open if you're driving or doing something else that requires attention. Breathing in through the heart, out through the solar plexus. And now step 3, assume objectivity about the feeling or the issue as if it were someone else's problem. So this is disengaging from the personalness of it. What am I going to do? Most of the time when our emotions get hung up over an issue, it's because we are over-caring, over-identifying, or over-attached. That's what gets us fused in the language of acceptance and commitment therapy. So pretend as though this issue that you're concerned about is someone else's, and allow clarity to emerge. And now rest in neutral. You're still breathing in through your heart and out through your solar plexus. You've distanced yourself, you've defused from this issue a little bit by acting as though it belongs to someone else. And just hang out in neutral for a moment. And now here's an even more fun part. Soak and relax any disturbed or perplexing feelings in the compassion of the heart. Soak and relax any disturbed or perplexing feelings in the compassion of the heart. You don't have to have a cognitive understanding of how to do that. Let your heart tell you how to do it. And remember, it's not the problem that causes energy drain as much as the significance you assign to the problem. You're still breathing, right? And now check in with your deep heart and sincerely ask for appropriate guidance or insight. And if nothing occurs, find something to appreciate for a while. Step back into appreciation. Keep breathing and trust. As they say, the heart doesn't always flash its answer on a neon sign. A lot of time the heart answers softly and subtly. When people talk about the still small voice of the heart, what they're saying is that the heart communicates through delicate, intuitive feelings or subtle knowings. So follow and trust even those little fleeting heart perceptions. If a perception is peaceful and it feels good to you, that's your signal to follow it, even if it seems too simple or easy. Breathing in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. And soaking in the heart's compassion and appreciation. And if you're feeling spacey at all, which I sometimes do when I get into this space, you can allow that to be okay. And you can tap your knees or with your hands or stomp your feet a little bit. Sort of look around your environment, take in objects and colors. Breathing in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. Can I remind you for a moment while we're here together on this planet, sharing this experience, that who your heart thinks you are is who you really are. When you are tapping into your genuosity, you are tapping into your heart. So those fleeting, peaceful, soft butterfly sensations or images, don't get stuck on that. Your heart might not speak like that, but you'll know. You'll know. You can trust those. That's your true you. And you are amazing. I don't mind telling you. You're pretty amazing. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel good in your own life and in your own skin. You are worthy. You are deserving. You have permission. You are allowed to have all good things. I adore you. Yeah, you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Until next time. I am so honored that you share time with me. If you've listened this far, then something here was of value to you. Would you please be a friend of the podcast and share it with at least one other person? The podcast is available on most platforms, including YouTube, and I need your help to get the word out. So please like, subscribe, and share, and a 5-star review on iTunes would be chef's kiss. Thank you so much. See you next time.